powder blue leather, three-piece suit with matching leather hat and powder blue boots. All I could say when I saw that was, man, when I grow up, I wanna be like that. I wanna be like that. I wanna be like that. Wanna be like Alan.
KBLA Talk 1580. It is my honor and my pleasure to welcome into the space the spirit of music, the spirit of the culture, a woman whose life has been steeped in community service. As a little girl, her grandma would bring her to neighborhood meetings, and by the age of 13, she was serving as secretary for her local Chamber of Commerce. She says her soul found its home in New Orleans, and now she graduates from Xavier University. She settles down and is elected council. On May 7th of 2018, she was sworn in as the first female mayor of New Orleans. Please welcome New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here, honor to join you, honor to be in the city of LA and representing the city of New Orleans.
You know, it's wonderful to have you here. I think it's very exciting that this naming of the New Orleans corridor is not just something symbolic, but something that is bringing living, breathing culture. And even though we're not sister cities, we have two mayors who are both sisters, recognizing the connection between the cities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And recognizing the influence and the impact, quite frankly, of the South, the conditions that Blacks found themselves living in, and the opportunities for a better way of life and for the ability to build transferable wealth. And the city of LA welcome millions, you know, from our Black, our Creole community that have settled here. And to your point, right along the corridor that we will be celebrating, they are real, breathing families of the city of New Orleans that are also a part of the fabric of the city of LA. It doesn't get any better than that. It's not, it's real.
Mayor Cantrell, does that migration go the other way as well? Are there a bunch of former Angelenos now in New Orleans?
Well, you know what? Yes, it does go both ways because, you know, primarily all Black folks are from the South, you know, and the majority of Blacks continue to live in the South. And so we do find where those have found themselves coming on back home, you know, to the South. So it is that consistent exchange because it's really woven in the DNA of who we are as people, as Black people, as African Americans living in the United States of America. But through that great migration, and particularly Louisiana, New Orleanians came to LA in droves in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and just took that culture, brought the culture right along, you know, with them and was welcome. And even as it relates to now going to school in New Orleans, when I decided to attend Xavier University of Louisiana, and I was right here in LA, it opened my eyes up and it opened my family up to family right here in LA, but that were from New Orleans. And now I have my nephew attends Xavier. He's going into his sophomore year. And I'm just one of many.
So when Council Member Heather Hutt and Mayor Karen Bass came up, you know, approached you with this plan about really celebrating the link between our two cities, it didn't come as a surprise to you at all?
You know, it was something that it touched my heart greatly, simply because, me being born at Los Angeles Hospital, living, in Los Angeles, did have to move to the Antelope Valley when crack cocaine hit the scene, but my mother is still in LA off of 45th and Figueroa, and I felt just kind of celebrated in that regard, and not just me personally, but people who have become a part of the fabric of this city, and also who have become a part of the fabric of the city of New Orleans. And let me tell you, running for mayor of New Orleans and being the first woman elected, but also not being a native of, it was a hard road, and I was told,
Yeah.
She's not from here. And then even being, she's straight out of Compton, And then I was like, well, I'm from Los Angeles, but not only that, my city is full of New Orleanians who I love, who was a part of the fabric that I grew up in. And so for this renaming and naming of the New Orleans corridor, it seems to build community between our two cities, not be negative, but only positive. And it really uplifts our cultural aspects that are just so uniquely New Orleans, and that has now become a part of the fabric and the traditions of Los Angeles. So it's a beautiful intertwining, and it's almost like, two soul sisters coming together.
Two soul sisters, two soul cities. I want to talk more about this first female mayor thing, something you and Mayor Karen Bass also have in common, and the resurgence, or maybe a renaissance, of Black leaderships in our big cities here in the United States. We'll look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Are you looking for some fun and entertainment this Father's Day weekend? Can't figure out what gift to give the men in your life? No worries. Our entertainment presents Dance with My Father. Terry Steele, a tribute to Luther Vandross. Elaine Gibbs, a tribute to Aretha Franklin. Visit Eventbrite now. Dance with My Father, June 17th. General admission is $60. VIP, $75. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Showtime is at 7:30 p.m. Taking place at the beautiful Fine Arts Theater in Beverly Hills, 8556 Wilshire Boulevard. For ticket information, visit Eventbrite or call Isidore at 323-351-7662. 323-351-7662. Bring the family out and let's celebrate. 323-351-7662.
You know those cigarette butts that you see every day? They're made of microplastics and they line our streets and waterways. On California beaches, they're the #1 plastic you'll find. Over 35 years, cleanups have collected millions combined. But no matter where you see them, they're all getting smaller, eventually leaching into our food, our air, our water. The tobacco industry's to blame for all of the harm that they do. For the harm to the people we love, and the harm to you too. Learn more at undo.org.
King C. Gillette is the modern man's answer to their facial hair. With a complete set of precision tools, the King C. Gillette line offers the perfect fit for your facial hairstyle. Want to try something great? Try the Style Master, the quintessential styling tool that every man needs to craft their style. It's a waterproof, cordless trimmer with a long-lasting 4-directional blade. It's extremely versatile and designed to edge, trim, and stubble in 4 directions on any hair length. Master your style with King C. Gillette.
What's up? It's a Target trend alert. New swim has just arrived and it's sunny weather approved. If you're into bikinis or one pieces, high waists or cutouts, they're the perfect combo of trendy, flattering, and affordable.
That's right. And there are so many cool styles with gorgeous details. These suits have macrame, crochet, wood beads, pretty shells, and more. Totally a luxe for less vibe.
Yes, so dive in and shop this Target trend without the spend.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
So appreciate you. Lots of exciting things happening around the nation and the city of Los Angeles in the spirit of Juneteenth. And we've been talking about this naming this historic corridor, the New Orleans corridor right on Jefferson. Mayor LaToya Cantrell is part of that. She'll be here on Saturday with us. But, you know, reading the bio, first female mayor of New Orleans. It doesn't say first black female mayor. It says first female mayor. And that's the same thing with Mayor Karen Bass, also African-American, first woman to lead the city. How do you process that?
Ooh, I tell you, it's historical, no doubt about it. Women have demonstrated that, we have been good. We've been great legislators, but we're even more effective executives. And we have been now elected to these positions to lead. And women just, we have an ability to build community in ways, and not to be disparaging to anyone else, but we just have a lens that we look at our environment. We look through a different lens. We look through the lens of the entire family, and we understand that when that woman, and women are, in this country, in terms of percentages, the heads of households, but we also understand when we help that woman, we are helping that entire family, and we're bringing that man right along. Not leaving him behind, but we're advancing our black men too. But it's through that lens of the woman.
And I mean, that is part of what I'll call a renaissance of black mayors right now across this nation, right?
I would say so, and which has sparked a renaissance in trying to take us down.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy. And it's even more, it seems to be even more aggressive in regards to the tactics that folks will go to and utilize to be disparaging against us and in our roles of leadership.
Yeah. I mean,
and I face it head on in the city of New Orleans, and being in the South, and being one place that was the segregated South. And it was the first time, just thinking about the pandemic, the first time that the white community, for example, had to hear no from a black woman. And I'm telling you, it was tough.
Yeah. I mean, Mayor Cantrell, I've seen the dumb reporting on Fox News and some of the mainstream papers, and I recognize it as a black woman and someone who follows politics really closely, how it's really spin is what it is. It's meant to undermine your work and your legacy. Yeah. Luckily, many of us have the media literacy to read between the headlines. But how do you navigate that?
I've found that being definitely tied to my African roots and spirituality, so knowing that, God is real, but navigating it by staying true and focused to serving the people that I was elected to serve, who are in many ways disproportionately impacted, whether it's through public health, which is also through the lens of public safety, just staying very focused on why I'm there to address those disparity gaps, to address homelessness, to address mental health, to address housing, to address economic development and enhancement and removing those wage gaps. I'm there to do a job. And so what helps me is to stay focused on delivering. And then what I found, that's how I'm able to not only get things done, but also bring people right along with me. I had a recall on me. I was elected my first term by 61% of the vote. I was reelected my second term by 65% of the vote. And several months after that, I found myself in a recall. But the people, just like you mentioned how you are in terms of real journalism, right? The people of my city could read through it. And they could also see through my work where my heart lied, and there my passions and my work ethic lied as well. And they stood with me. They stood by me. And we looked that line in the face and in the mouth and said, listen, the city of New Orleans will not go forward with this recall. We will stand by the leader that we have already elected twice to serve this community and this city.
Yeah, I mean, we know a lot about recalls in California, as you, I'm sure, are aware of, having roots here. It's just such a waste of money. I feel like it is Republicans' side door effort to win elections that they cannot win when the actual bulk of the voters show up to the polls. So congratulations to you on defeating that. And it's always, to me, it's a way of it highlights kind of the gap between some of the spin that's going on in the mainstream media and where the people are really at.
That's right. It really does. It does. And that's hopeful. Like, that's where I draw my hope from. And I know that my sister Mayor, Mayor Bass, that's where she draws her hope from. And then how she served just from distinction as a congresswoman and now as the mayor of LA. So we will not be distracted. We are united, and we're utilizing the renaming of this corridor, the New Orleans corridor, as just a hallmark and an example of how we are together and how our cities are our fabrics are intertwined, and we are bringing our people and the souls of our city right along with us in terms of our leadership.
Mayor LaToya Cantrell, you're not shy. You're outspoken. Sometimes as an interviewer, you talk to elected officials and everything sounds like a talking point from a press release. And it's like, wow, this is great, but it's really boring. But, obviously you're not like that. You speak your mind. And that is that's got to be tough, too. I mean, you're not scared. Being fearless and unapologetic also comes with a price in the political arena, doesn't it?
It really does. But, the examples that I draw from are my ancestors, and I would say our ancestors.
Yeah.
And those who continue to be, again, woven in what we are celebrating over the Juneteenth weekend. And so, like Maya Angelou would say, I would listen to her, and she said, listen, when I go into spaces that I know I'm not welcome in, when I go into spaces where I may be the only one, I bring my ancestors right along with me to give me the courage, to stand. And I practice that, I have to say. My Aunt Autry Taylor, was named by LBJ, our president, in the 60s. And she was identified or named over consumer affairs. And she was a product of Los Angeles, one of the first Black women to own a business in LA. And so, I come from good people and good stock. And just like we're representing the families of New Orleans over this weekend in the fabric of the city of LA, we come from good people. And, good people who have set up great roots in this country, who built this country. And when we know that, we should be able to stand on that and to move progress forward. And so we've seen the impacts of that. And I'm just one little vessel, and I'm not afraid because you know what? our ancestors were not afraid. And that's why we're celebrating this week. That's what we're celebrating this weekend.
Absolutely. That great migration where our ancestors, left the South in droves and came to different places, California being one of them, is really well chronicled in the book, The Warmth of Other Suns, which I encourage folks to read, but probably not talked about as much as it could be. And now we're starting to see some reverse migration, right? I've been tracking numbers, particularly from New York, but even LA and other big cities where black folks are saying, you know what, we're going back down south.
That's right. That's right. Because you know what? Black folk, the majority of black folk still live in the South in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And we see, I believe, like the diaspora is coming on back home. and I think that it's necessary because the disparity gaps that currently exist in this country continue to remain in the South.
Yeah.
So if we're going to help black people holistically, if we're going to build up black folk, we need to do that in the South because that's where the majority are.
Yeah. And you know, that's why, I mean, to your point about, you know, the migration and communication, you having roots here. And I feel like we're all real country here in LA. I always say LA is the South. I mean, we should put more emphasis on the southern part of Southern California, because to me, I don't know, we call ourselves a city, but to me, folks are very country.
Yeah. I agree, and I love it. That's what I love about it. And I tell you, when I moved to New Orleans, I knew that I was going to be, like I said, my soul found its home. But my father's people are from Birmingham, Alabama, and so I was going to Birmingham, you know, every year, every summer when school was out in June, I would be there through September. You know, but that's normal,
right?
For us who are not or who weren't raised in the South. You would always go back to know your roots, you know. And so my father lived on Normandy. My grandparents bought a property on Normandy where he settled, and my stepmother and the like. And so that's just a part of, you know, who we are. But I knew I was going to the South, and I knew that I was going to an HBCU because everyone in my family, particularly on my paternal side, everyone graduated from an HBCU.
Yeah, my dad tried to get me to go to Howard with my other siblings, but I already had a television show. But that said, I mean, when you look at black leadership, I'm not giving up my TV show to go to Howard. Sorry, Dad. But I mean, my brother, who's now the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, went to Howard. Kamala Harris, the vice president, went to Howard. You attended an HBCU. It feels like a lot of the leadership, the new leadership now for this generation, is coming out of these historically black colleges and universities. Why do you think that is?
Because they have always been at the forefront of educating black people in this country. And for finally, our HBCUs are getting the credit that they deserve simply because they've been educating leaders, grooming leaders for generations in the United States. But these leaders have gone on not only to serve in this country, but also to serve globally. But let me tell you, the experiences and the education that is obtained at a historically black college and university is just second to none. You have a real focus on who you are, and they don't let you go. They handhold you so that you can be the best that you can be, and they don't make excuses. You know, you can't go there and make an excuse for what you can't do because it's woven into the fabric of who we are and what our ancestors have had to stare down and to defeat. So you can't go there talking about what you can't do, you know, and they build you up from within. And when you're built up within and you know who you are, you can stand in the midst of any adversity. And I believe now, as you said, in this country, we're starting to see and be recognized, meaning the leaders who have been groomed, nourished, and educated by and through our historical black colleges.
The conversation is with New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. She is in town to officiate and cement the relationship between our two sister cities, unofficial sister cities, New Orleans and Los Angeles. And you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Thank you for sharing a part of your Friday with us here on the Black Information Network. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest. Today is another chance for the Supreme Court to rule on the president's plan to forgive some student loan debt. His Democratic backers say this would be a huge deal for the whole nation.
In the 70s and 80s, the cost of higher education just started to skyrocket, and there's just a huge student loan bubble.
Congressman Joaquin Castro of Texas says without those loan payments, people could spend more. House Minority Leader, African-American Hakeem Jeffries says the federal indictment of Donald Trump over his handling of classified documents speaks for itself. The New York Democrat told reporters he has confidence that the jurors and ultimately the American people will arrive at an outcome that is just. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Stop waiting for a great deal on better sleep. Mattress Firm's July 4th sale is happening now. Save up to $700 on top brands when you get a king bed for a queen price. Plus, get a free adjustable base on qualifying purchases. Shop today to get the right bed at the right price.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The WNBA is allowing all 12 teams to fly with a charter company when possible. The long overdue decision comes after Brittany Griner was harassed in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport last weekend. A YouTube influencer confronted Griner as she and her Phoenix teammates were walking to their gate to catch a commercial flight. The man expressed his anger over the prisoner swap that freed Griner from a Russian prison in December. WNBA players have been complaining for years about the physical and mental stress of flying commercial. All 30 NBA teams use a charter service or have their own planes for every road game. Freddie Freeman delivered a bases-loaded single in the bottom of the 11th to give the Dodgers a comeback win over the Chicago White Sox. The Giants are in town tonight for the start of a 3-game series at Dodger Stadium. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Everybody in the house, make some noise!
Is there a better day of the year to celebrate the anniversary of the only unapologetically progressive talk station west of the Mississippi, focused on issues that impact the black community?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We think not. A station that amplifies black voices like yours with hosts and guests who look and sound like you. Celebrating our second anniversary on Juneteenth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And you ain't seen nothing yet. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready for an unforgettable experience this Juneteenth weekend? I'm Queen Mother Nina Womack, inviting everyone to my multimedia arts exhibit called Way You See, The Legacy of Slavery and Freedom. Experience African culture, Black art, live performances, keynote speakers like Dr. Melina Abdullah of Black Lives Matter LA and more. See The Door of No Return, an 18th century slave dungeon relic from Ghana. Produced by Transmedia 360, sponsored by the Department of Mental Health, Cal Mesa, and Take Action for Mental Health LA, running June 16th through the 18th at Art Share LA, 801 East 4th Place, 90013 off of 4th Street, 1 block east of Alameda in the Downtown Arts District. Get your tickets at legacyofslavery.com or call 877-594-1292.
I'm James Alexander of the Barcades and a proud member of AARP. I play bass for the Isaac Hayes movement, including the legendary Chef theme. Isaac Hayes was the first African American to win an Oscar for Best Song in 1973. That was only the 4th Oscar ever awarded to anybody black.
AARP members are history makers, past and present. In celebration of the 75th anniversary of Black Radio, this feature is proudly powered by AARP.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Talking with New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, who will be joining us, me, you, and the crew. You can sign up for your free ticket, NOLA2LAtickets.org, NOLA2LAtickets.org. There will be a ribbon cutting at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow at the Church of Jesus Christ Holy Name, and then they will second line it all the way over to Harold and Bells, where there will be an amazing concert, right? We've got Irvin Mayfield, 1500 or Nothing, Terrace Martin, kind of a nice blend of New Orleans and Los Angeles.
I cannot wait. And we have brought just a wonderful delegation of cultural artists, musicians from the city of New Orleans, brass band. We brought Second Line Shorty, and you mentioned Irvin and others. But listen, we're so excited. Culture is also our economy.
Hello.
And this is putting our people. It is, and it's putting our people to work and sharing in our traditions. But what I'm most excited about is that Los Angeles will have a jazz festival, an annual jazz festival. So this will be launching, we know, in 2024, but we're starting it through the renaming of this corridor. And the city of New Orleans, we had a print, I would say a painting or print commission by local artists. We put it out there for other artists to come up with their versions or put their creative juices to print. And we selected one that we will be unveiling on tomorrow. And it's something that we do in the city of New Orleans with our jazz festival, the Jazz and Heritage Festival in New Orleans. So we're wanting to bring that to LA, and the Los Angeles Jazz Festival will have a New Orleans stage. And so we're wanting to kind of cement these traditions starting off with the Los Angeles Jazz Festival here. So we're excited about it.
So, Mayor Cantrell, I understand that stage, the New Orleans stage of the LA Jazz Fest, which, as you mentioned, launches next summer, and part of it will be out at Dockweiler Beach. It's got just amazing activities planned for all over the city. But I understand you're curating, sponsoring, running things on that NOLA stage. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. The city of New Orleans, we are going deep in terms of garnering resources to help, but really it's going to be through our people, putting our musicians to work, bringing them to the city of LA, having them perform at Jazz Fest and being a part of it. Again, it just solidifies the fact that culture is also our economy.
Yeah, I think that is our export, that's our economy, and it is probably one of the biggest ways that we influence the entire global environment, right, with our cultural and creative contributions.
No doubt about it. The city of Los Angeles, we know, is an international city, and just like the city of New Orleans, we're international, we're world class, and wherever you go, no matter where you go on the globe, when New Orleans shows up, I'm telling you, seas seem to part, and you're advanced at the top of the table. And the same with Los Angeles. When the city of LA shows up, when my sister mayor shows up, I'm like, whoa, who just stepped in? I mean, they part the sea, and there she is representing the fabric and the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think it's a great sign that African American leaders like yourself, especially Black women, are thriving, even in the middle of this insane polarization, MAGA, white supremacist environment. Even with the attacks that you endure from the press, you, as Maya Angelou would say, still you rise, and that to me is a very good sign for America.
You know, Dominique, you make a great point. And you make me think about how far we have come as a people. And it was through Black women, through that black family, you know, that Black woman that kept that family tight, that supported that Black man, you know, having to endure all types of pain to hold his family together. But it was through that Black woman. And wow, here we are again. I believe that it's going to be through the Black woman that we get through this phase and stage of society.
Yeah. One of the things that you've taken a great interest in, obviously, the music and culture is a big piece of that, but you've taken a great interest in the climate emergency, and I commend you for that. I feel it seems like it would be an obvious thing for a mayor of New Orleans, which endured Katrina, which is, you know, being buffeted by these rising number of storms and all of these other kinds of impacts, right? I see folks criticizing you for that, and it boggles my mind. Like, I don't know how you could be mayor of New Orleans and not care about that, but tell me, like, about some of your climate crisis initiatives and why this is important to you.
Well, it's important because, one, the city of New Orleans is on the front line of climate change, and the climate has already changed. But more importantly, you know, it's not a matter of if, it's when we're going to be knocked down by some crises affiliated with the weather. And when that happens, always, it's your most vulnerable who are impacted the most. And we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to ensure that the city of New Orleans invests in her people through its infrastructure, you know, making sure that we are replacing drainage pipes and roads and streets that have not been done in over 100 years, that we are creating green and blue systems in terms of infrastructure that's holding water, freeing it up from going into our homes, into our properties, but also about saving lives. And then we're experiencing extreme heat. We're experiencing now tornadoes. And so just like the city of LA, you know, they're experiencing, you know, whether it's the wildfires that are getting more intense, rain that's more intense. So these things are something that we cannot stand by and not act upon, because it is something that globally we have to play our part. And the city of New Orleans has to lead the way. We are leading the way in this country because we are on the front line. But it's about protecting our people, protecting life, and as well as property.
We're talking with New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. When we come forward, yesterday, V. Shane Frederick said that he travels frequently to New Orleans, and it seems like the city has bounced all the way back from Hurricane Katrina. I want to hear your thoughts on that when we come forward, Mayor Cantrell. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility, not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
It's our anniversary.
Every weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA.store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our second anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA.store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Hi, it's Dominique DiPrima from KBLA Talk 1580. It's going down on Juneteenth weekend, Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. for the Ribbon Cutting and Street Festival for the New Orleans corridor in Los Angeles. You know it. It's about time this important part of our story, our culture, was recognized by LA. Join Mayor Karen Bass, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and Grammy Award-winning musicians Irvin Mayfield, Terrace Martin, and 1,500 or Nothing for an amazing celebration. Go to NOLA-to-LA-tickets.org to claim your free ticket. That's NOLA-to-LA-tickets.org. I'll be your MC, and I will see you there. Saturday, June 17th at 11 a.m. It's the New Orleans corridor in LA for Juneteenth 2023.
Find a righteous rage, and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And we are so glad to have you in. I want to let you know the response to KBLA's second anniversary. It's a celebration taking place on Juneteenth, because that's when this station was born. That you guys are all up in this celebration. We're so happy that we have actually created a new section, created some more space for you, our delegation. If you want to join us on Juneteenth, all you have to do is email us at info@smileyAudiomedia.com. We'll email you back with all the particulars for your private invitation only all-star celebration on Juneteenth. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com. I can't guarantee you'll get in, but we'll welcome as many more members of our delegation as we can, accommodate the food, the drink, the live music. It's all on us this Juneteenth. So just email us, info@smileyAudiomedia.com right now, and let's see if we can get you into the fun and festivities for Juneteenth. It's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, of course, we are talking with New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. She will be in town for an amazing dedication of the New Orleans corridor right there on Jefferson between Holy Names Church, where the ribbon cutting will be at 10 a.m., all the way down to Harold and Bells, where there will be incredible festivities and a concert starting at noon. You can get tickets, NOLA-to-LA-tickets.org. It's number 2. The tickets are free. And I want to definitely shout out the LA Jazz Festival, Bridge Street Entertainment, and council member, Heather Hutt, who has really pushed us across the finish line. We are right in her district. And she's another down-to-earth Black woman who is getting things done for her constituents. Mayor Cantrell, talk to me about New Orleans post Katrina. Are we post Katrina? Is that even possible?
Well, the city of New Orleans has definitely bounced back. We are approaching 18 years since Hurricane Katrina. We're not fully back. So we're not fully back. And I will say what I mean most by that, our people were hit hard.
Yeah.
And again, what I was talking about with climate change or when disasters come, it's your most vulnerable. Your most vulnerable that really get impacted the most and the worst. And then when you factor on tactics that we had to live through, like the Road Home program, for example, resources or grants that were to help you rebuild. And if you live in a predominantly African-American community, you got screwed. The formula just didn't work out for you. And your property values were deemed significantly lower, which was a part of the formula for the grant award that you would receive. And if you were in other type, a neighborhood that was not predominantly African-American, then your property values were deemed significantly higher. But when sheetrock costs the same. So if my house is 1,200 square foot and yours is 1,200, it doesn't matter where we live. It costs the same. But you know what? Our people were impacted by that. And I use that just as an example because that had a tremendous impact on how and when and if people were truly able to rebuild their homes. And also when we think about rental property. Now, we had a large percentage of Black folks that own rental property, not in it to get rich, small-time landlords, but it was to subsidize their income. It was transferable wealth.
Right.
But the program that was meant and intended to help this community of people never got off the ground. So therefore, again, another blow to the Black community in the city of New Orleans. And I say that to say this. Earlier this year, you had Secretary Fudge, Marsha Fudge of HUD, come to the city of New Orleans to announce that the federal government through HUD has now forgiven the loans that were given to families to rebuild, to fill that gap, because they used that money to go into their homes because they did not get adequate funding through the programs that were initially intended to help them rebuild their homes. So for almost 18 years, these families were living with the burden of that loan that they had already used and being told that they needed to pay back.
Wow.
So this year, our families, this burden was lifted off the backs of our families. And this had a tremendous impact on their financial ability and stability, as well as just taking the burden off of them so that they can go ahead, and so it's these types of things that some people don't know happen or believe that the impacts were not as great as they actually were. But just this year, Secretary Fudge, and through her hard work, and also with our congressman, who didn't waver. But we're very grateful for this having happened because, again, it's a wrong that has been turned around.
Talking with New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, and we'll get her final thoughts ahead of the big celebration tomorrow when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C. What's up? 3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Sunday, June 18th, come out to Africatown in Leimert Park for the Juneteenth Independence Revolution commemoration. The Independence Revolution will be part of a 3-day weekend to celebrate Juneteenth. Join in the national hashtag Wave of Freedom, where Black people across the country will stand in solidarity to demand reparations for Black American descendants of slavery. Hear from the frontline organizations who are fighting for better conditions for Black LA. Bring your dad to be part of the Honor Thy Fathers ceremony, which will acknowledge dozens of Black fathers in the community. See performances from some of LA's top local artists. Shop with a variety of local Black merchants selling food, clothes, art, and more. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is a free event for the entire family. Sunday, June 18th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., come to Africatown in Leimert Park to celebrate Black Independence Day. The Juneteenth Independence Revolution is brought to you by Africatown Enterprise, the African Village Vendors Association at Leimert Park, Black Lives Matter LA, Downtown Crenshaw, and Destination Crenshaw.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
It has been my honor and my pleasure to speak with Mayor LaToya Cantrell of the city of Louisiana, but we're also, of New Orleans, Louisiana, but we're also going to claim you for LA as well since you hail from here. Mayor Cantrell, we've got about a minute. What would you like to leave us with?
Well, first of all, I'm just so excited that we have two cities intertwined, that we are, and thanks to Councilwoman Helen Hunt. She's bad, but for taking this on and for finally giving our cities, I would say it's just due with recognizing the cultural influences, recognizing the great migration of the city of New Orleans to the fabric of Los Angeles, and uplifting those families who are here who have been a part of the fabric of LA for generations and who will ensure that the culture lives on. And that's something that we're celebrating here on this weekend, Juneteenth, the perfect time to do it. And, of course, jump-starting and highlighting the kickoff of the Los Angeles Jazz Festival. So I'm excited to not only cut that ribbon on the New Orleans corridor, but the second line down on the streets of L.A. towards Harold and Bell. And it's just an exciting time. And I just thank you so much for this opportunity to speak, to share, and to love on the city of L.A.
Mayor Cantrell, thank you so much. Tavis Smiley is up next until Juneteenth. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for sharing a part of your